What's up, Ontra Nation, my world, my friends, my family? How is everyone? Great to be here again, as always. I got a lot to talk about today. We're gonna dig into some big stuff today. This is a big stuff. This is why I do what I do. This is why what I do, at risk of being overly boisterous in saying so, what I do is really, really damn important in the world. And I'm going to offer up for everyone that doing work where you wake up every day and you say, what I'm doing is really important. That's good work. That's work that I encourage you to find for yourself. Because frankly, I've done work that's just about making a buck. Kevin Michael Church, good to see you, my man. I've done work that's just about making a buck. Now I'm experiencing doing work that's because I truly, genuinely, authentically believe this work deserves, requires, begs, compels me for it to be done. And I'm going to explain why I mean that, why that's not just blustery commentary. Looks like we might have a little bit of a lag on Facebook and YouTube. I'm not seeing the usual flood. Instagram's blowing up as it always does. Appreciate everyone being here. I can't even keep up to say hi to everyone. I always got to acknowledge Poop Wrangler for being here. Good to see you. Hope your wrangling is going well. Margot's dad, which I'm actually pretty sure is it Miko or Miko? But anyway, great to see you. Stone is here. What's up, my man? Heart of Gold is here. Melissa, Rashonda, Darren, Giovanni. What's up, team? Zach, JR, THM. Oh, I guess Kai. So many people here. Anyway, I just appreciate everyone being here. So here's the deal. We live in this world. There's been this really interesting, we've all had a pretty interesting experience of late, right? The world's kind of gone. Hey, Tim, appreciate you being here, my man. Didn't see you at the gym this morning, probably because I was at a different gym, but I'll bet you were there. Anyway, so, we live in a world, obviously, some crazy stuff's happened, right? Like super whacked out insanity has happened in the last few months. And what I'm hoping, what I'm pressing hard, I'm frankly doing all I can do to get us to energetically embrace what's going on in the world right now as just what in economics we would call creative destruction. Creative destruction is a process in economics. It was originated by a guy named Joseph Schumpeter, who was a great historical economist. And creative destruction is essentially the process by which economic change happens. In economics, things don't just change in a neutral way. Things have to break down and things get rebuilt in a different, more evolved fashion. The reason is because economics is essentially the aggregate of what's happening with businesses. And in a perfect world, certainly businesses could just all adapt and morph based on changing the times. But the reality is economic evolution always takes the form of some businesses decaying and other businesses emerging, right? And so, at an individual level, it's tempting to think that's a bad thing because there's a consequence for that. The process of creative destruction, it impacts some people negatively, some business owners and some people that work for and rely on businesses. In the short term, it impacts them negatively. And admittedly, this year, we're seeing a pretty massive, example of that. And it looks like Facebook and YouTube were just hung up and a bunch of people just popped on or it just appeared on my screen. So I want to say hey to Jeff, hey to Christian, hey to Pamela, hey to Michael, hey to Nicolea, hey to Jace or Jacer. And for everybody else, let's say hi. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you are, where you're from. I want to say hello and keep building the connection here with the family. Got so many people coming on Instagram. I literally just can't keep up. It just flies by. But let me know. Dr. Midlife, that's one I caught. Leanne, hey, great to see you. Yeah, let me know you're here, where you're from. I just God, it's so cool what's happening, guys. Like, we're building something so freaking epic. And anyway, so I know that people are like frustrated and some of them are suffering and hurting right now. But again, we can't choose what happens, but we can choose how we respond. We can choose how we energetically and, tactically respond to things. And the reality is, what's going on in the world right now is an acceleration of what was already going on in the world right now. So there's nothing new. If you have lost your job this year because of COVID, because of essentially an accelerated decline in the physical, tangible brick and mortar economy, the reality is what's happened is just an acceleration of what was already happening. Maybe sans COVID, it would have happened in 2021, 2022. But the reality is, like, I forget what the stat is. I was looking it up a few days ago. It's like 75% of all jobs are going to get replaced in the digital economy. They're going to get replaced and substituted with something more efficient that leverages technology in a different way. Ty from St. George, what's up, my man? I'm down in Vegas right now, obviously, but everybody knows St. George is my hometown. I don't know if Houston's my hometown or St. George is my home. There's where you're from and there's where you are. But anyways, you get the idea. Rhonda, hey there. Appreciate you being here. So anyway, it's sad, and I know that it's hard, but if you can embrace this as an essential part of progress and simply an acceleration of what was going to happen anyways, for you personally, likely, if you've been affected this year, you would have been affected by the trend anyways. So go with it. Don't fight it. Don't be paralyzed by it. Don't be depressed about it. Go with it. How can I pivot fast, man? Speed. Success loves speed. You got to shift now. Don't spend 6 months processing the fact that it sucks in the present only to come to the same conclusion, which is I got to adapt. Just go ahead and adapt, right? Rhonda, I appreciate that so much. Jeff, yeah, trucking automation, man. That's a big one, man. That 3.5 million truckers in the United States, that virtually all of them are going to be obsolete in, I don't know if it's 5 or 15 years, however long it takes them to turn over the fleets with self-driving trucks. The technology is here, guys. It's here. And so, you're fortunately in life, you're not driving an 80,000 pound truck. You can actually pivot really quick. Now in a truck, it's hard to pivot really quick. You'll flip over. In life, you can. But you got to have that perspective. You got to have that mindset. Kevin from South Africa. What's up, my man? So anyways, I want to, again, just share that perspective for people. Even look at what's happening in the workforce. So all these companies have sent workers home, right? And listen to this stat. 74% of companies that have sent workers home have said that even when the world returns to, quote, normal, which, first of all, normal is not a thing. And secondly, when it, quote, returns to normal, it's going to be a new normal anyway. So I wouldn't really get too preoccupied with the concept of normal. But when the world returns to at least the choice to bring people back to work, 74% of businesses are going to keep with the work from home model, at least in part. Mark Zuckerberg has announced that out of 48,000 employees at Facebook, 50% of them will be working from home. That's almost 25,000 people will be working from home in the next 5 to 10 years. And that was happening anyway, pre-COVID. This is my point. It's all happening anyway. If you're not leaning into this technology, you've got a problem at your job. And if you are leaning into this technology, your job's got a problem, because once you lean into the technology, what you're going to figure out is all the tools that allow you to work from home in a job, that's like 50% of the battle and the learning curve and the psychology and the discipline of, learning to work from home with technology is what was limiting most people from having the basic operating ability to start a business online and actually really, really make a change, where it's not just a location change. it's a paradigm change. Somebody says, I have corona. I did. I don't anymore. I mean, I don't talk too much about it because I'm not like, I don't want to get political or like, but I will simply share my personal experience. I won't say when I had it because I don't want the whole world to like be whatever, trying to scrutinize my life and figure out. I'll just tell you, I had coronavirus. I was tired for a few days. Missed a couple workouts at the gym. I think I missed 2 days that week, and I'm good. So, here's the thing. I take really good care of myself 365 days a year so that whether I get coronavirus or I get the flu or I get a cold or I get punched in the face by a hippo or whatever, God willing, happens to me. Like the point is, the Navy SEALs say it. I say it all the time. Don't wait till you need to get ready because by the time you need to get ready, it'll be too late to get ready. I'm 41 years old. Somebody asked how old I am. Don't wait until you have a pandemic to go, oh man, I really need to boost my immune system. I really need to take great care of myself. Listen, I've been taking 10,000, I think I use. It's two of my I take two of these. Hold on, I'll show them to you. I got them right here. Two of these bad boys. I think it's 10,000 IUs of vitamin D. I've been taking every day for 5 years. So, it's such an odd, and I've gotten really good at not addressing negative hate commentary, but like when people say you're gay, I find that such an odd, tear down statement. Like a lot of the smartest, coolest people in the world are gay. I don't happen to be, but I don't know. Thank you, I guess. I think you just compared me to like Rudolf Nureyev and some really awesome, epic people throughout history. I don't happen to share that proclivity, but yeah, okay, whatever. So anyway, I've been taking great care of myself, which is why this whole year, instead of getting all preoccupied about how I was like certain death was, I was going to inhale it with every breath. It was more like, the world's pretty nutty right now. I'm going to put my head down, my blinders on, and just go to work. And instead of freaking out, I scaled my business 2,000% this year. 2,000%. You know what happens when my business scales 2,000%? My income scales 2,000%. I mean, I'm just saying it like it is, guys. Like, this has not been a time to freak out. This has been a time to adapt and get smart. For me, I've leaned into personal branding. I've leaned into connection. I've leaned into content production. I've leaned into digital messaging. I've leaned in more to this technology. I've leaned into trying to harness and capture the attention that's now frankly easier to get to than ever. It was actually harder to reach people before COVID because they were all spread out. Now they're all staring at their device. This is not my device because my device is busy streaming on Instagram. They're all staring at their damn device right now. So reach them. All your customers are in like one place right now, which is, or maybe a few. They're like Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. There's a new one called Parler. There's like a few places you can go now where everybody is because they're not all fragmented out there. They're not on the golf course. They're not in the restaurant. They're looking at their devices. And so this was a time to just go, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to embrace these skills. In fact, I'm going to go nuts with these skills. Because there's a group of people out there that looked at the year 2020 and they saw what was happening and they said, you know what? Every time a year like this happens, millionaires get made, billionaires get made. I'll bet if I go nuts this year and work like I've never worked before, which by the way, I've worked like I've never worked before this year. Last year was the hardest I'd ever worked until this year. Because there's so much opportunity when the world goes topsy-turvy. And here's the thing, you still got, 6 more months of this craziness. It's not too late. I mean, it's not too late to embrace the digital economy and learn to become an entrepreneur online or, with real estate or whatever, just change your thinking. Like millionaires and billionaires are created when the world's like this. Values are down, the volatility's up, fear is up. Smart money deployed right now, smart energy deployed right now will change your life forever. Forever. Go read, was it Money Master the Game with Tony Robbins? And he's, that's a good comment. I'm going to talk more about that, but go read Money Master the Game. And he talks about when he interviewed, I think it was John Paul Tutor, who was the world's first stock trading billionaire, he made all his money because he saved, and waited until, I forget, it was like the late 70s, this massive economic collapse. And then he went and bought stock in all these good companies that he knew were going to recover, because good company, the stock goes down. That's just a reflection of fear and greed. That's just a reflection of people selling out and trying to circle their wagons. It has nothing to do with the underlying company, if it's a good, solid company. So this guy went and took like $100,000 that he'd saved up for like 10 years and invested it in all these mainstream blue chip American companies that he knew were going to bounce back, bought them for pennies on the dollar. And within a year, he like turned $100,000 into like $1 million. And then he just went on from there. Hold on, I love this. I feel so powerful when I do this. I'm just going to eject right off the live. Ain't got time for that. You're out. So anyway, that's what I hope everybody's doing. But here's the thing. I know a lot here. You've been forced halfway there. You've literally been pushed in many cases by either your employer changing the workplace and saying, go work from home, or your employer changing fundamentally and maybe not having a job anymore. Either way, you've been pushed 50% of the way toward total liberation and freedom, because you're now, yeah, Monica, that's funny. I just invited him to my VIP block party. He's living it up by himself. But you've literally been pushed halfway there, because one of two things has happened. Either you've been pushed home to embrace technology to allow you to continue to work, or you've been sent home with no job and now you got all the time, right? Either way, you're halfway there. You've got more going for you now towards the ultimate end of building an online business than you did a year ago, when you had to clock into an office and you didn't have the time and you didn't really have facility with the tools. So this is huge, man. This is a massive opportunity for millions and millions of people. And just know, if you see it that way, like literally based on what I'm saying, the glass is half full. Either one of them is a win. Either you got your time back because you lost your job, or you got sent home. So now you're forced to deal with the same tools. Like literally, you don't even have to turn in your chair. You just do your work for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, whatever it is. And then you exit out of whatever platform they have you doing your work in. And then you just flip over on your browser to start learning the skills and building a business. And you go log into your Shopify store, you log into your affiliate tracking portal, or you log into wherever you're building your course, or you log into manage your clients' Facebook ads, or you log, whatever, you log into your training videos. Like it's right there. You're literally already there doing the work. It's so cool. So I want to share with you guys, this is where I wanted to go with this conversation today. It's why I was able to start right on time, because I didn't have to do any prep for today, because I looked at the subject and it was about, it's time to start a digital business. And I was like, yep, ain't that the truth? And I already got all my prep done, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So real quick, I'm going to, hang on a sec. I'm going to share my screen, and it's going to look really funky and weird at first because, that whole thing. But when I switch over to, sorry, I got to move my phone around so I can see what I'm doing. When I switch over to Keynote, I'm going to hit play. Yeah. And this is a slide that I put together today for an orientation presentation that I'm putting together for the inside of the Ontra members area, so that every new member that comes into Ontra can go through an orientation that establishes the entire landscape of where we are, who we are, what we are, where we are as a company. And you can see there, I've got the origin, I got a breakdown of the blueprint that we use. I've got our Ontra way, how we show up every day, the Ontra difference, what sets us apart, the Ontra movement, what it is that we've created here and what people are becoming a part of, the ecosystem, our complete landscape. We're not just a few courses like we've built. I mean, oh my gosh, it's insane what we've built in 2 years. I just think about how much work and how much fun. How much work and how much fun. How often do you hear those things coupled together? How much work and how much fun it's been to build all this in 2 years. But we've got a whole ecosystem. We've got a community. We've got experiences. One of the reasons I am pretty excited for the whole COVID shenanigan to lift. In fact, I was just talking to a guy today, and we're gonna probably partner with him to actually start taking people out on his boat. He's got Oh yeah, I am sharing my screen. Can you guys? Oh no, I forgot. Yeah, I'm talking to on Instagram. It's like we can't see what is on your screen. So let me flip my phone. Okay, so you can see these are the things that are in the presentation. What sets us apart, what people are a part of, our whole landscape of courses and experiences and community, what we guarantee people, what our process is, what you experience when you join us, and how to get the most out of it. Anyway, so I'm putting this whole slideshow together, but this is the slide I wanted to show for this conversation. And let me know on Instagram if you can see my screen. I'm pretty sure on Facebook and YouTube that you can. So here's the deal. This is what I started out by saying. This is why the work matters so damn much. This is why I do what I do. This is why I get up every day and I work harder than I ever did when I had to. Because the world needs this, man. And as I show this, if you're on board with this, give me a yes in a comment. Either give me a yes, or if you're on Instagram, give me some hearts. Like, share this. I think what I'm about to show is one of the most critical information sets in the world for people to understand where they are, where they're going, what they need to be focused on, what they need to be worried about, and most importantly, how they can be proactive and solve their problem that they may not even realize they have. Let me explain what I'm saying. Fundamentally, first of all, college is overpriced. The average net price, this is after you subtract financial aid and tax benefits, for 4 years at a private university is $110,000. Public university, it's almost $50,000. Ivy League university, it's over $200,000. That's after financial aid and tax benefits. Student debt, average student, college graduate takes 18.5 years to pay off their student debt. They start paying it off when they're 26. When they finally get enough traction at a job, they can afford to make any basic payments. I'm 41 years old. If I was the average college grad, I would still be making student debt payments, which means whatever the income statistics are for college grads, I don't even get all that income because I still have to send some of it back to the government on top of the taxes that I'm paying. And we lose, this is how maddening is this? We lose buying power yearly. We get so excited for our end of the year raise and they give us a 2% raise, which feels like a lot. Man, I was making 50 grand a year. Now they're giving me $1,000 a month raise. That's $80 a month. That's like my cell phone bill. Yeah, but inflation was 3.22% per year. That's the historic rate of inflation. You lost buying power. Your raise buys you a little less milk and a little fewer eggs and a little less bread and a little less car and a little less gasoline. That raise that you were supposed to be so excited about, right? Average salary for 4-year college graduate, $50,000 a year. Now listen, I'm going to say something that might sound pretentious. I don't know how the hell people live, especially if they have a family, on $50,000 a year. I don't know how you do it. $4,000 a month. Admittedly, I live a little more extravagant lifestyle than I did for a very long time. But even when I was just living what I would call a medium lifestyle in terms of comfort and you know, creating really wonderful experiences for my family, I mean, that's $4,000 a month after or pre-tax. I burned that crap up in a week, even when I was trying to live cheap. And yet that's what most people are supposed to be excited about. And by the way, look at this. This number blew my mind. And I'm going to show you all my sources on this data. The average person from the age of 18 to 48, they enter the workforce at 18. From 18 to 48, the average person will work 11.7 different jobs. 12 jobs in 30 years. How the hell are we supposed to create continuity and career growth working 12 jobs in 30 years? Not to mention, you know, you have kids at what, 25, 30, people start to have kids. You got to go home, tell your wife, tell your husband, tell your kids, sorry guys, you got to change jobs again. And you know, and while you want to offer them security and comfort, the reality is, you know, that by the time you're 48, you're probably going to have that conversation 6 or 8 more times. It's insanity. And every time you have that conversation, you got to live off your savings for a few months while you land on your feet at the next thing, which means you're chewing up principal now that will never have the ability to compound to equal into a retirement later. Number one rule of investing is don't lose money. How are you supposed to not lose money when you're forced to live off your savings 12 times in 30 years while you change jobs? From these jobs, you're lucky if you even have savings trying to raise a family on 50 grand a year. It's insanity. Look at this. Bottom line, this is why this is such a problem. This is why people think that COVID was the pandemic. No, an inability to retire is the global pandemic that's going to kill people, and it's going to kill them by working them to death. To be on track to retire at a reasonable standard. And by the way, the numbers I'm showing you are what I would define as at most a third of what you actually need to retire comfortably. But we'll just go ahead and use the mainstream numbers because I don't have to defend my beliefs about them. This is what Merrill Lynch and Edward Jones and Charles Schwab, this is what everybody's going to tell you. You need about $1.5 million to retire comfortably. Again, I think you need at least 5, preferably 10. But to be on track for that, you should have $125,000 saved by the time you're 30 years old. The average investable savings for a 30-year-old in this country is $9,600. By 50, you should have $937,500 saved to be on track to retire at 65. Instead, the average 50-year-old has 40 grand. Pretty big gap. Just a little $900,000 gap for people at 50 years old being off track. It's okay. You got time. You can make that up, right? No. By 65, you want to retire and live another 20 years comfortably, you need $1.5 million. Think about it at what, 5% a year? You're living off 75 grand a year. It's not like you're living high on the hog. Your grandson develops a drug problem, needs to go to rehab. There goes a full year of income just paying for him to go to rehab, right? Inpatient treatment. Sadly, though, it's not even a question for most people because the average investable savings of people at 65 years old in this country is less than $70,000. Just a little $1.43 million shortfall when I'm supposed to be retired, but I can't. I hope Walmart's hiring greeters. Guys, I'm not being flippant here. I'm being a little bit sarcastic and cynical. I am dead serious. This is the pandemic. COVID schmovid. This is what's crushing people. They don't even know it yet. It's a tsunami, but it's still 20 miles off the shore for most people. They're just still eating picnics on the beach. 64% of Americans are on track to retire with $0. What does that even mean? To retire broke? How are you retiring? You're not retiring. You're just going to friends, family, kids, grandkids saying, I need help. Can I move in? Can I have some money? Or you're petitioning the government. You're jumping through their hoops to for the $800, $1,400 or whatever, Social Security, Medicare stipend. Maybe you go break your own leg to get some disability. Like, guys, I get mad. I get mad when I see this crap because this is what's being doled out by the establishment education, the establishment employment, and the establishment government. This is being doled out to people like it's some kind of a formula for life, like it's some kind of success. 79% will need to keep working until the day they die or get too sick. Sit on these numbers, guys and gals. Sit on these numbers. This should piss you off. It pisses me off. Not surprisingly, only 14% of Americans rate themselves as very happy. They've been doing this study every year since 1972. It's in an all-time low. We've had all this progress. Look at all the billionaires. Look at all the glossy, glitzy lives on Instagram. Everybody seems to be so happy. And yet, strangely, only 14% of people rate themselves as such. Man, Instagram must be lying. No. Instagram is just a tiny little sliver of what people want you to see. It's not actually real life. I know professional Instagram influencers with 500,000 or 1 million followers who make $35,000 a year. They're even worse off than the employees, and they spend half of that on videographers, and photo editors trying to make their life look like they're millionaires. These are all the sources. If you want to see where I got this data, this is the real stuff, guys. Anyways, I'm gonna unshare my screen now that I've said my piece. Oops, let me flip this back. Sorry, on Instagram. That's why I do what I do. That's why I wake up every day working harder than I ever have for reasons that are bigger than I've ever had. Even though, let's be honest, I'm one of the very blessed few that don't have to do the work. Guys, we're not out here trying to, Leanne, I appreciate you're talking about the orientation. My goal was to have it done this week. It's an ambitious goal. I got interviews coming out my ears, but I've done 2 today so far, and I got a 3rd one coming up. But I'm for sure. I think I can get it done this weekend. So let's say by next week there'll at least be some version of this that you can digest in the members area. It'll be the full orientation, but it's reality. Pamela says, I'm 61 with an older adult caregiver business. So you're taking care of those adults. You know. I don't know that I like really have that much to add. I mean, it's honestly like I'm a pretty up guy, but it like takes the wind out of me when I really process all that information. It's sad. And the saddest, hardest thing about it is people's blindness to it. And I would call it willful ignorance or willful indifference, because it's not complicated math to just say, well, how much do I need to live comfortably? And how much will I need to live comfortably when I've got also the condition, the challenges that I'll deal with when I'm older? Maybe need to pay for some medication, maybe need to, deal with whatever, help my family a little bit. And, anybody can do that math. So I think there's definitely like a head in the sand component to why people just don't do it. I mean, we all know what we generate in low risk returns. We're all going to live off of, 5, 6, maybe 8% returns per year. Unless what I said yesterday, what I said last night, which is gambling on yourself is only a bad bet if you're not a good bet. And that's where I think these skills come into play. You're already halfway there. If you're working from home, you're already learning the platforms and the tools and the skills. And if you've been laid off, you've already been given the greatest gift you could ever have, which is time to work on more important things. I'm not saying burn your boats. I heard something on one of my Instagram micro content pieces. It was like, don't burn your boats until you know the island is habitable. I'm not saying quit looking for a job. I'm not saying, especially if you have dependents, don't put your family at risk. But change your perspective and view the job as a stepping stone to get to real freedom. That, again, this is the controversial point of view that I take, which is that actually being an entrepreneur is way less risk than having a job in the modern world, unless you absolutely see the path. Because remember, those numbers that I just gave you, that's based on a $1.5 million retirement. I don't want to live out my days on 75 grand a year when I have kids and grandkids that are in a increasingly chaotic and uncertain world. And I want to have resources to help them. And I want to treat my, hypothetically treat my family or my wife or my husband, my loved one to all the wonderful things that I couldn't do when I was working. I want to be living off of at least a couple $100 grand a year when I'm retired so that I can do these things. And for that, you got to have 5 or 10 million bucks. So I would say actually you could triple or quadruple all those numbers I just showed to get to the real truth of where peace, happiness, and prosperity live for an ultimate life outcome. And I don't know, it's powerful when I see it like that. So like the idea of like, oh, let me just return to normal and kind of get back in the lane that I was in before is a fallacy. And that's my message today. Comments, questions, guys. I'm getting so much amazing feedback. I'm tempted to stay and chat a little bit. Let me actually check my calendar real quick. I have an interview that I have to do at the top of the hour that I need to prep a little for. So I take five minutes or so. What to do if motivation is low? Adam, I appreciate that. Leanne, I appreciate that. Monica, I appreciate that. Michael, I appreciate that. Motivation is a hard one. I actually just got off an interview with a guy named Dan Henry. You may know Dan Henry. He's one of the biggest digital marketers online. The willpower fallacy. Yeah, Jeff, ain't that the truth, man? Ain't that the truth? Rewards and habits is how you change behavior. It's not about willpower. Rewards and habits. Structure your life so that you create routines that create inertia and momentum on doing the right things, and then creating rewards so that when you do the right things, there are naturally positive consequences or outcomes for that. That's how you change habits. So the idea to fix a motivation problem is not to increase motivation. It's to reduce the need or the influence of motivation. That's what I would say is, I brought up the interview I just had with Dan. He said, the key is that he referenced something Tony Robbins teaches, which is don't make decisions when you don't feel good about making the decision. Make the decision at a neutral time in the absence of stressors when you're in state, what Tony Robbins calls state. It's flow. It's when the reticular activating system in the brain is engaged and you're in flow. That's when you make the decisions about your life. You say, what do I want my life to look like? And don't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and then decide if you want to go to the gym. I get up at 3:30 almost every morning. Admittedly, this morning I'm in Vegas, what happens in Vegas, right? But don't get up at 3:30 or 4 in the morning and say, do I feel like going to the gym, or am I motivated to go to the gym? Sit down on a Sunday when you got nothing or whatever at a neutral moment and say, what are the key decisions for my life? And then Blanca just said, discipline is doing what you do not like until it becomes a habit. Amen. Sit down and make the decision. What do I want to do with my life? And that way, if you effectively decide, and remember the word decide means to cut off alternative options, decisore, to like scissors, to cut away from. Decide what you want your life to be, and then you reduce or remove the need to ever make that decision again. So at a neutral time, decide, I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock every morning and I'm going to go to the gym. And I use that because it's kind of the easiest, most tangible example. And then every morning you just wake up and do it. You don't have to be motivated. You know who's like almost never motivated at 3:30 in the morning? Is this guy. I am not motivated at that hour, but it doesn't matter because I already decided that's what I'm going to do. Somebody said, what do I think about house hacking and investing in a duplex rent-free when you are young? I love it. I love it. Do it, do it, do it. I'm trying to remember. Man, I've done so many of these interviews. I've got a couple interviews. One of them is by a guy that did that. I think it was Juan. You know what? I'm going to get the link to the interview. I'm going to paste it. That question was asked on YouTube. I'm going to paste it in the YouTube comments on this live stream for you, Brandon, and anybody else. I'm going to give you the interview of a guy who did exactly what you just said and used, parlayed it into a legitimate real estate empire at a very young age. He's like 30 years old and he looks like he's like 14. He's a super young guy, but yeah, totally love it. Okay, guys, so I got 15 minutes to prep for my next interview. I'm going to go. I appreciate everyone. This has been a lot of fun, even though, frankly, it was a little bit like emotional going through those numbers because that's the actual state of affairs for the vast majority of people in this world. And if anything, a lot more people have it even worse. Those were America's numbers, right? But there's a solution. Like diagnosing a condition. Yes, it was Juan Pablo. Thanks, Jeff. Diagnosing a condition is really depressing if there's no remedy or cure. But like we're just the doctor who's trying to accurately diagnose the condition so that people will take the right cure, the right prescription for the problem, which is the digital economy. It's becoming an entrepreneur. Anyways, thanks everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.